Gundam.tk presents RX-78-2 Gundam version 2.0. Hello again everybody, Robert184, 2 R's, 2 V's, and welcome to part 3 of the RX-78 Gundam Master Grade version 2.0. With this Master Grade version 2.0, you actually get a lot of parts, including the regular bazooka, 2 beam sabers as you should, but you also get the trident, which is a nice touch. The beam rifle comes with an additional weapon, the napalm launcher, backpack. Of course you get the 2 feet, 2 legs, waist section. Inside you can see a little bit of the impressive 2.0 inner skeleton. Upper body, separate shoulders, and then you get the regular shield, and they give you the Gundam Hyper Hammer. So starting with the foot and working our way up, one thing that's sort of unique about this is that the ankle is attached to the foot. And when you put the armor on it, the first thing that I noticed is that it can split like this. So you can almost call this a 90-degree angle between the front of the toes and the back of the heel. So that is a big improvement over older versions of the Master Grade. The bottom looks like this. You could add some more lining on it. And side-to-side motion, you get it to move this much. This gets in the way a little bit. And forward and back, you can move it that much. Now this is just a white piece that you slap on the gray frame, but the foot and this piece is a little loose and can pop off, but otherwise it's a very good start. As for the leg itself, the first thing that I noticed about this is that on the back they actually put some white armor on, so that looks pretty good. The the hip joint of course can move like this, and it's actually a very tight ball joint, so that works really well. As far as mobility, of course, as you saw with the skeleton, no problem getting the 180. You can add some lining here, but overall there's really not a lot of lining to go into this version 2.0. A lot of them are just clear spaces like that with a little bit of gray. You can make it look pretty sharp. Now with the skeleton I complained that this knee section is white, but again this is good with the Gundam because otherwise if that was all gray I don't think that would look so sharp. So the fact that they did make this white, despite my earlier complaints, if you bend the leg like this, you're still seeing mostly white Gundam leg, which is more anime accurate. The waist section is just fantastic because as deceptively simple as it looks, when you actually put it together with the white armor on it, it's very cool. And of course you can open everything up, and inside you can see the frame. These back panels do want to fall off a little bit easily, as you just saw. But in terms of other things, one small complaint I have is that this red piece can pop out pretty easily. So if you actually put any forward pressure on it, that can fall out. As far as the back goes, you'll just slap the legs in there. And down here, there's an empty space, which they could have added a white cover for. But when you put it on the 1/100th action base, you'll just attach this on here, and then plug this into the action base. Now, with the newer 00 Gundams, they put it in the back, which lets you hide it a little bit better, so that's something they could have done a little better, but not a big complaint. Now, even the shoulders of the version 2.0 have some very cool inner frame, so there it is, nothing fancy, just this bends out. But the fact that it's a separate piece from the arm is a nice touch, and you can add a little bit of lining on the top. Now the arm section for the 2.0 is again where it really shines. Of course it moves here, no problem at all doing the 180 down here. And again, just like the knee section, you expose white instead of all gray, so that's a nice touch. You can also see the parts in here move as you're bending it together. This is for the shield attachment, and one thing that some people didn't like is that the hands are a little bit oversized for the rest of the body. But if you watch the old anime, it's not that far off. And of course, something that I really like to see is that they give you the peg here so that when you're putting the weapons in, they want to stay. And something unlike other Master Grades, but more like the Perfect Grade, is that the fingers also have a midway joint here. So that's something you saw with the skeleton, but it's a nice touch. Now the chest section really just sort of screams retro Gundam. And the most important difference being is that all the old Gundams used to have a yellow square around the chest vents, but this one actually embeds the yellow vents inside. Now these can move, as you saw with the skeleton, and when you take a look at the arm part, there's a lot of gray exposed, but that's all going to be covered up with the arm. And the payoff that you get with the mobility of the arm, being able to pull it forward, back, and do just about anything you can imagine with it, no complaints about the gray there. The shell can come apart, as you can see here, so that's something that I have to be a little bit careful of. The backpack will click on here, you can add a little bit of lining, but otherwise the chest is very well done. Finally, for the Gundam itself, the head. And the first thing that I noticed about this is it's very clean and it's very not cool. They didn't go with the articulated look that they have with the newer ones, making it squarer and a lot tougher looking. This is straight out of the 70s anime. So if you're a fan of the anime, I think you'll like this head, but if not, you may like something a little more like the 1 Year War. As far as lining goes, just slap two simple lines in the back, a seal on the back for the rear camera. This is very nice that these parts here, you don't have to color them in. That's actually from the skeleton underneath. Up here you can add a sticker. I should have done that a little better. And the Vulcans look sharp up at the top. Now one thing that is a problem here is that if you just slap this mouth guard on over top of the red under frame there, what happens is actually you'll see red coming through the holes instead of black. So that's something I just went over it with a black marker underneath so that it comes through looking black. And the gold eyes look really sharp. As far as posability goes, you can do pretty much anything you can imagine with this. It can look almost all the way up. It can look down, but not as far as I expected, but it's still looking very sharp. Now for a run through of the weapons. This is the backpack, very simple. You just slap this gray piece over the outer frame. The insides look impressive, and here is where you can store the beam sabers. So you can push that in, or you can put the beam saber on there. Looking at the beam sabers themselves, just a pink part that you attach on, and it doesn't sit on there very straight. I bent this one a little bit, so that's a problem. So be careful with the beam sabers. Just line that with gray, and they're looking pretty good, and they look really good sitting in the backpack, even though they seem a little oversized, but it goes well with the anime cartoony look of it. Something I think is a really cool add-on for this is that they give you the old school beam javelin, and all it is just a long thing, and at the end you have a 6-part beam javelin with the 3 tridents sort of sticking out on the side. Now the problem is that when you get this, it's all clear. So if you want to make it actually look pink, you're going to have to buy some colors. So in this case I bought Mr. Colors Fluorescent Pink, and it looks just fine. I actually put on 2 or 3 coats on this, and maybe that was a little bit too much, so you could probably get away with a little bit less. Now speaking of unnecessary super robot weapons, the fact that it includes the hyper hammer is good or bad. You can use it or not, but it's hard to pose, of course, with this weapon, but they did do a pretty good job of it. It's similar to the 1 Year War one. Everything attaches on here with one special piece, and at the other end it's the same idea, although it's a little hard to get this one to sit flush. The shield is another fantastic addition to this model, and despite some of the older models trying to get rid of the yellow cross because it looks a little too cartoony, this one has it on there, no problem with it. Now a nice touch is that if you take a look at the back, if you flip this up, you can actually close the eye shield. So if he was looking behind, sniping somebody, then he could seal that up. Now another nice touch is that up here there are pegs, and this is going to allow you in the future to attach this to a second shield. So if you buy the G Fighter Master Grade, which has just come out and is sold separately, you can make a double layered shield, which he wore in the anime. With the beam rifle has a peg here that you bend out, and you can plug that in here and basically store the rifle in the back of the shield. Looking down here, this is awesome because it moves up and down, so you can adjust it anywhere that you want, and this clasps on really well to the Gundam's arm, and the hand just goes through here. And if you want, you can also bend this up out of the way and then plug that in to the back of the torso and put the shield on like this. The Hyper Bazooka actually looks really well as a weapon, and in older versions of the Gundam, they would usually have an all-gray one, but the fact that they went with the white piping on this one, for me, makes all the difference. Nice thing up at the front here, you can actually move it a little bit if you're trying to put it on its shoulder. When you come down here, this is not very solid and sometimes tries to pop up a little bit, so you'll have to keep that properly in place. Nice touch in that they add the rockets down here, but otherwise nothing fancy, but the fact that it's in white, well done. Last but not least, the most important weapon for the Gundam is the beam rifle. And I actually went in there with some silver Gundam marker in an attempt to dry brush it, but it doesn't really stand out, but that's okay. As far as the sight can move this far off to the side. As well, you can also move this up both sides. This peg here bends out so that you can attach it to the back of the Gundam's waist skirt, so if you want to put the rifle out of the way, and you can also do that with the bazooka. So bend that in, and otherwise, the nice touch for this is that they add the napalm launcher. But to do that, you actually have to pull this apart. Just attach the napalm launcher onto the bottom and plug it in on the front, and all of a sudden the regular beam rifle has a lot more heft to it. Stay tuned for the next part when we can see the Gundam all put together and this transformed. Stay tuned, everybody.